All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. All right, man, we had a fight this weekend, Canelo-Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev. But let me tell you, man, other than the fact that fight card was the worst managed fight card I've ever seen in my life. DAZN doubles down on it by smearing the name of two other fighters to distract from the media firestorm that their incompetence caused. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also, I want to say thank you to my two awesome communities that support the channel, the Patreon community. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. We got another Patreon video coming up today. Also, I want to say thank you to the live stream community. OG Boxing Talk on Sunday was off the hook this Sunday, and we'll be back next Sunday at 8 a.m. with my co-host Blood Boxing, KQKC Boxing, Trap House Boxing, and Curtis Anderson. If you can't tell by the name, we are all very, very, very much into the sport of boxing. But let's get into this ridiculousness. After the Canelo-Alvarez fight and Kovalev fight, the worst managed fight card I have ever seen in my life. And if you don't know, we call it OG Boxing Talk because we've been around for a while. These clowns waited for they actually waited for an MMA fight to end in another stadium before they allowed the main event to go on and advertised MMA in the middle of their fight card. So boxing fans, and by I mean it advertised MMA in the middle of their fight card, they literally put on the MMA fight for the fans in the state in that arena in the MGM Grand to watch. Absolutely crazy. It is like Burger King not having any burgers, and they go to McDonald's or they go to Chick-fil-A and come in with chicken sandwiches and feed everybody in line with free chicken sandwiches while they wait for their raggedy ass McDonald's to get back on the truck. Ludicrous. But they double down with Chris Mannix. Chris Mannix, I said this on Twitter. I'm telling you that is Eddie Hearn's illegitimate brother. He's every bit as tall, every bit as petty, and every bit as much of a liar, as arrogant liar as Eddie Hearn is. He gets on Twitter and says that Adrian Broner, sources tell him, sources tell him, you know, sources is how you ain't got to actually fess up. First of all, you ain't no journalist, dude. You're a commentator for DAZN. You're actually paid by DAZN and work for DAZN. Okay, so in this capacity, dude, you're not an independent and subjective journalist. I don't care what journalism school you went or how well you use ellipses. You're not a journalist. You are a paid employee of DAZN in this regard. So this paid employee of DAZN goes on Twitter and claims that Adrian Broner and Gervonta Davis got in a fight outside of Canelo Alvarez's locker room, and that in the midst of it, Adrian Broner got so mad that he turned around and cold-cocked a PR man for Gervonta Davis. Now, let's just be real here, dude. What does that mean to be a shout out to New York City while I sip my New York City coffee mug? Forgive me, a little thirsty. What does it mean to be a Gervonta Davis? You got to read between the lines. PR man at a DAZN fight. Dude, it's his friends. It's a bunch of dudes hanging out, having a good time, standing outside of Canelo Alvarez's locker room. These guys probably know Canelo. They're all professional fighters. They're in Las Vegas at the fight. Okay, having a good time, playing around, talking shit, whatever. Who knows? But Chris Mannix is going to say that he cold-cocked this guy, according to sources. Made Steven Espinoza so upset that Steven Espinoza, the president of Showtime Boxing, please excuse me, I know that's not his title. I think of him as the president of Showtime Boxing. He's probably the vice president of events, some other title other than that. But you know who Steven Espinoza is. He runs Showtime Boxing. Said, Chris Mannix, your sources are bullshit. Now, when you can have a guy like Steven Espinoza, who's usually a very, very, he's not like me. Right. He's not just going to be usually just get ignorant on you and respond to trolling with just as fervent and and precise trolling. That's usually not how he goes. But for him just to come out and say your sources are bullshit, and he gives a rightful justification for why Chris Mannix did it. To distract from that disastrous fight card. Because all anybody was talking about on Twitter, because, I'm Twitter now. Follow me on Twitter, right? At Phenom Boxing on Twitter. I'm plugging it. Look, man, the only people we're talking about sending memes back and forth. And I can imagine they were doing it on Instagram too. Memes back and forth about showing pictures of Canelo Alvarez and Sergey Kovalev just laid back on couches, waiting around for the fight to start. That was the talk for hours. Remember, people who are not from the United States, they did not put this fight on until almost 1:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. The biggest population of people in the United States is the East Coast. There's more people that live on the East Coast than anywhere else. A big section of boxing fans had to stay up to 1:30 in the morning to wait for the fight to start, and then the fight was boring. Kovalev pity-patted the dude on his forehead for 12 rounds. Canelo Alvarez walking behind him, throwing heavy shots, and eventually got one of the very, not questionable. Because, hey, man, I can't, unless I see an angle where that punch didn't land, and I've seen that in boxing before, I believe that the fight that it landed. But come on, man, that was not some big spectacular fight. That was boring. It was boring. So anyway, more importantly than the boring part is just the incredible mismanagement of the whole fight card. One fight goes on, comes off, another fight goes on. They even, to make up for this ridiculous time gap that they knew that they were going to get because they made a ridiculous decision to wait till the UFC ended, they actually had a women's fight go 3 minutes, 3-minute rounds, and extended it. I was listening to Sergio Mora said, dang, if this is 2-minute rounds, this fight would have already been over. And I thought to myself, you're exactly right. It would have already been over, and they got plenty of time to kill. Then Ryan Garcia gets a first round knockout, didn't go whatever. Is that a 10-rounder, 8-rounder, whatever it's supposed to be. So that fight got cut off completely. They didn't have another fight to put on between. That's why, if you ever notice in boxing matches, sometimes there'll be fights after the main event. There can be guys in some cards because they'll bring them out. Oh, we'll just say, maybe we can throw this fight in the middle of it just to give people something to do. But no, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want to allow people, they want to go beg Dana White to go put the MMA fight. You should have read the note that Dana White wrote, or the interview that he gave about how crazy it was that these people called him in the middle of the MMA pay-per-view and asked if it was okay if they put that fight on. And he called Oscar De La Hoya a moron. But I say, hey man, only morons do business with morons, which means the DAZN got a bunch of morons. But they have to figure out some nonsense to try to distract and put some mud at the same time on their opponent, or which is the PBC, whether it be on Fox or whether it be on Showtime, because any of those PBC fighters can fight on Showtime or Fox. But they're the competition that, by the way, is absolutely killing the DAZN. So they just go ahead and use some rumor to muddy Gervonta Davis and muddy Adrian Broner, as if Adrian Broner needs any more muddying. But they say it's not true, and there we go. Chris Mannix is a jackass. In my personal opinion. I listened to this dude, the way that he interacted with Sergio Mora, excuse me, the way that he interacted with Sergio Mora, talking to Sergio Mora as if Mora doesn't know what he's talking about. I won't go over the specific of it, but just literally and figuratively talking down to the man like he doesn't know anything, like his ideas about boxing. This guy being a champion and being been in the fight game forever, basically his whole life, doesn't know anything about the sport because this Boston College journalism major knows it all. That's just a jerk, jackass. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.